Welcome back to my garage and to this small tutorial on how to measure the trueness of your crank and correcting it. So I think I'll just bring you in close here and I'll try to explain the best I can what you do and what you need to do when you find that your crank is out of true. Okay, what we are looking for here is to see if the crank either is spread out like this, or if it's pinched like this, or if the webs are kind of skewed this way. So they're not parallel anymore, they are skewed like this. Use an dial indicator on, let's see here, on the crankshaft, preferably as far out as you can. I'll move this one when I'll start checking my crank. And you rotate it and check the runout. And based on where you find the high and low spots, or that will tell you what's going on with your crank. If it's pinched or spread, or if it's twisted, I think is the term. Can be hard to get your head around what will happen out here, especially when it's twisted, because when it's spread it's kind of obvious that it will tilt like this when the crank is, when the widest point is at the bottom. So if it's spread, it should read the highest when the conrod is, or the big end pin is in line with your dial indicator, like mine does. You can see here the lowest spot is when it's 90 degrees opposite, 180 degrees opposite, and highest at in line with the conrod. When it's twisted, it's not obvious what will happen. It might be a good idea to make something like this, and it's just a tool to visualize what will happen when you do things with your crankshaft. So not when you do things, or you may have done things to it, but what will happen if your crank is untrue in certain ways, in different ways. When it isn't untrue, if it's true, and this is obviously not really true, but then it will rotate without any runout. But with this little helper I can twist it out of true, and let's pretend this is the big end, and then you can see what will happen. So, and now it's kind of exaggerated. You won't see this on your crank unless it's real bad. So here you can see that if you look with the big end on top, then if this web is closer to you than this web, so it's twisted this way, then if you follow this shaft or bolt, you can see that it's at its highest point here. So your indicator will read its highest reading when the conrod or the big end is close to you, and will be at its lowest when the conrod or big end is farthest away from you. And both when the conrod is on top or on bottom will be in between readings. But it's highest when the conrod is close, lowest when the conrod is far away. And if you twist it the other way around, it will of course be the opposite. So highest when the conrod is far away, and lowest when the conrod is close. And this will tell you where you have to beat on the crank webs to get it true. So say it's like this, and you see that the reading is highest when the conrod is furthest away from you, and lowest when the conrod is close. Then you know that this web is farther away in this web, and you will have to punch or hit the web with your copper hammer here. Now if it's not twisted but just pinched, or okay, I have chosen too thick of material, but I think you will understand that if it's spread, I think that's pretty obvious that if it's spread here, it will lift both sides, and you will read high here when the conrod rod is on top, and low when the conrod rod is on the bottom, or big end. I should just say big end pin is on the bottom. And opposite, if it's pinched, it will be down. Both shaft ends will be pushed down when the big end is on top, and they will be high. So your highest reading will be when the big end is on the bottom. Okay, my preference for this is a analog dial indicator. It's easier on the brain to look at the needle movement than to remember the numbers. Probably not a problem for everybody, but for me it's not a problem, but it's just easier that way. So let's see, I'll try to get it on to this here. Because you're not those digital dial indicators are or indicators, I should say. They're great for absolute values, but when you're just looking for relative movement or relative values, it's not really necessary. Okay, I welded on a tab here to move the indicator further back to have room. Little design flow there. Okay, the crank is mounted up in the V's in the stand here, and I've got my dial indicator set far out on one side of or one of the crank axles, or on the shaft, and now you can see, and I zero it out on the bottom with the conrod rod on the bottom here. So as I rotate it, you can see that it reads higher and higher until I reach the top, which is exactly with the conrod rod in line with the dial indicator. And as I move it further, rotate it, you can see that it reads lower. So this means that the highest point is with the conrod rod in line with the dial indicator. So the shaft is highest now, and this means that the crank webs are spread. So the crank webs are sitting a bit like this, because then the shaft is tilted upwards. So what I will have to do now is just carefully pinching it in a vise, and then bring it back in a jig and see where it gets me. What I'll do now is just I'll put the crank in the vise and just pinch it a little bit. Just do it really carefully, then shake it, and it's better to do that a bunch of times than to just squeeze on it the first time and then have to drive a chisel in there and spread it again. So just pinch it carefully, recheck it, pinch it, recheck it, and you will get there, hopefully. If there's not anything, if there's no twist in the crank, it will be fairly easy. So let's go. Okay, we're back after pinching the crank a little bit. So let's see where we are now. So that's our low, and we are still maybe reading 100 of a millimeter lower, so I will have to pinch on it a little bit harder. So let's see here. Okay, a little hiccup there. We're at maximum at 700ths of a millimeter. Okay. And just pinch it a little bit more. Okay, so we're still at reading the same readings. Nope. Okay, so now our low. So now what has happened is that our low is no. Okay, I thought I had done something wrong there. So our high. No, okay, now I've pinched it. So now you can see what happens if you do it, and it can happen real fast, as you just see. So now my high is here with the con rod on top, or the low is with the con rod on top, and my high is here with the con rod on the bottom. So now my crank is pinched because I overdid it with the vise, and my readings just got switched. So now I'm 700ths of a millimeter pinched in this direction. So now I will have to use, you can use a small crowbar or a chisel to drive in there and spread the crank webs. Made this aluminium chisel, and I drove it in between the webs with my hammer. And let's see where that got us. So let's see. I'll zero it on the big end pin. Okay, so now we're reading lower with the con rod closest. Back to 0, the con rod opposite. Okay, so now it seems most of the spreading or pinching are gone. So 0 there, lower with the con rod close, 0 or about 0, the con rod on bottom, and then the highest with the con rod opposite of my, or furthest away, opposite of me, furthest away from me. Okay. So now it seems like I've gotten rid of the spreading and pinching, but I've introduced a little bit of twist. Since the reading is highest with the con rod far away and lowest with the con rod closest, when the con rod is close, when the big end pin is close to you, or the con rod is close to you, the reading is lowest, and when it's at its farthest away, the reading is at its highest. This means that the crank is twisted. This web is pushed forward from me, and I will have to punch or hit this crank web lightly, or start lightly at least, with the hammer here. Okay, let's try that. Okay, let's see where that got us. So we're still at 0 there. A little bit better there. Back to about 0 there. And a little bit, tiny bit better there. Okay. repeat. Let's see if that did anything. Still low, back to 0, still high. It may seem like I've hit it, or I hit the wrong web here, because now I'm reading higher. Okay, I'll just keep at it, and I'll bring you back when I've gotten it close. Okay, so now by pinching it in the vise, driving my wedge in there and carefully hitting it with my makeshift copper hammer, I've managed to get it to within, oh, it's a little bit jumpy, but to within about 2-ish hundredths of a millimeter. Now this shaft might be a little bit bent, so let's see if we can get a reading further in. Okay. So so that's reading 1/1000, no, 100 of a millimeter at the conrod, so that means it needs a little bit of pinching still. Let's see where this got us. I hope I didn't go too far this time. Okay, so we're at our lowest, still about 100. And now this thing is accurate down to 200s, so kind of pointless to keep on measuring when I'm down to 100. So yep, I'll probably keep on tinkering with it until I'm sure I can't get it any better. Okay, thanks for watching. Hope it was helpful, or hope you could learn something from this video. At least you have learned that, or you saw that the thing about truing cranks can be finicky, and you feel like you're chasing your tail because you go a little bit too far, and then you're suddenly had to start going the other direction, and then you introduce some twist when all you had was pinch and spread, and but by just keeping at it and carefully hitting it and pinching and spreading it, I've made this I made this out of aluminium, because then I'm positive I won't damage the webs, or they're hard, so could have been much harder than this, but it works. Okay, please subscribe, and thanks for watching. See you next time.